What's going on, guys? So today I have a quick video topic for you, and that is how to talk to your friends and loved ones about hunting. Now, this is particularly important if you didn't grow up in a hunting family. I did not grow up in a hunting family, and navigating those conversations often came with some tension. And we just had the holidays. It's December 29th, and it was just Christmas. We had a big gathering, and this brought about a lot of discussion surrounding hunting because I was out hunting, I was in my camo, I came back inside, and people were wondering, what was I doing? Why was I out in the woods running around with a shotgun trying to kill animals? And I think for people who don't really understand it, it can be challenging to describe to them why it is that you hunt. There's an unfortunate divide in our society politically, I think, because of the internet. Everybody is in their camps when it comes to different social issues, and hunting is no different. So if we're going to dismantle these stereotypes around hunting, we need to actually bridge the gap between the hunter and the non-hunter. So it's actually important to have these conversations with people and to openly approach other people who might have a different opinion than yours when it comes to hunting. So I think having these conversations is the first step to dismantling this unfortunate paradigm that we're existing in now, where people are living in their own little bubble and paradigm and are very, very, in some ways, tribalistic with their opinions and beliefs. So I encourage anybody who has maybe a family member or friends that don't understand why they would want to hunt, or maybe you even keep hunting as something that's a private activity. You don't want to tell people. I know for myself, there's several people in my life where I felt hesitant to even tell them that I hunted because I was afraid that they would judge me based off of preconceived notions or stereotypes about what it means to be a hunter. So I really encourage you to lean into that discomfort and to have those uncomfortable conversations, because you'll be very surprised to see how much change can be made. So I think if you can approach those conversations with people who are not particularly fond of hunting with some empathy and some understanding that the common ground that you guys most likely will have is that you both love nature. You just enjoy participating in nature in a different way. So as a prime example, and this is one that I'm still in disbelief of, my dad is a vegetarian. He grew up vegetarian, a lot of his family is vegetarian, and what do you know, I began to find an interest in hunting later in life. And when I shot my first deer last year, believe it or not, he actually ended up participating in the butchering process with me and helped me each step of the way, despite being somewhat of an anti-hunter himself, being somebody who grew up with the idea that animals are not meant to be eaten. I was able to, I think, encourage him to participate in that process with me, not necessarily through persuasion, but through the years leading up to that moment when I shot my first deer. I had been having various conversations with him about why exactly I enjoy hunting. And although he didn't grow up eating meat and certainly doesn't eat meat now, he was able to understand that for me, when I go out into the woods and practice hunting as a discipline, it's not about going into the woods and trying to dominate an animal. It's really actually a way for me to partake in the landscape that I wouldn't ordinarily do otherwise. Now, I do hike and I do a lot of other outdoor activities, but there's nothing like hunting that allows me to feel directly connected to our natural biological life cycle in the same way that hunting does. And I think you really begin to understand what the cost of a life means when you are in fact taking another life when you hunt. I think when my father, for example, saw the gratitude that I had for that animal that I had just harvested, I think right there and then it changed his perception of what it means to be a hunter. And I'm really glad that he felt on his own accord inspired to help me process that deer, because for so long he held anti-hunting sentiments. And for me, that was challenging, especially as his son wanting to begin engaging in hunting although later in life. So the bottom line is, with your friends and loved ones, you want to find some sort of common ground and approach the conversation in a way that is completely disarmed, not emotional, and coming from a place of empathy. Don't talk over people, don't get frustrated, don't show any sign of defensiveness. And I think if you can just open your heart and just speak your truth as to why it is that you hunt. Your reasoning doesn't necessarily have to be the same as mine. I personally really have a food-centric approach to hunting. I enjoy having that direct participation in the landscape and bringing my meal from the field to the table and having the ritual of preparing it into a delicious meal that was from my local landscape. Your reasoning doesn't necessarily need to be the same as mine. All I can say is you need to just speak your truth, but from a place of empathy and openness. And most people are going to be receptive to that. They're not going to be defensive if you don't approach them with defensiveness. Even amongst people with the most pronounced anti-hunting sentiment, I think if you can approach them in a way that's human and that's open, they will be receptive to your reasoning. So big takeaway, don't be defensive, approach them with openness, and try to find some common ground, because I promise you, you will always be able to find common ground if you look for it. So that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to make a quick video and get that off of my chest because it is so timely. Around the holidays, we're around people that we're not often around, and they want to know what you're up to. They want to know what you're interested in, and sometimes hunting's going to come up. And if you come from a family that has anti-hunting sentiment as part of their core values, it can be a really challenging thing and a really isolating thing to approach. But I promise you, you're not the only one. So I just wanted to make this video and start that conversation. I'd love to hear down below in the comments if you also started hunting later in life and have had to have conversations with people who aren't necessarily hunters, who hold anti-hunting sentiment. How did you approach it? What were your strategies? I think it's something that's super important to keep discussing, and I hope to hear from you down below in the comments. I am the adult onset hunter, but don't worry, I know I'm not the only adult onset hunter out there. You could be one too. Signing off, we'll see you next time. Cheers.